The 2024 Toyota Tacoma is finally here, and it is being offered with many different features and configurations. But even with all the differences through its lineup, there is one thing that's consistent. It's a new truck, not just a facelifted previous model, with a design that qualifies as contemporary with an attractive overall look. Chevy's midsize pickup truck, on the other hand, entered its third generation for 2023 with an all-new design that's grown in width, wheelbase, and maturity, with updated powertrain options and a vastly improved interior. The road to midsize pickup truck dominance right straight through the Toyota Tacoma, which is the sales leader in its segment, and being the benchmark for every other truck. Does this new 2024 model have what it takes to stay on top of its game? Well, let's find out. This year marks 3 decades since the first Tacoma arrived in the US, and even as the oldest design in its class, the current Tacoma is still the most popular. This all-new model feels familiar but modernized. There is a big hexagonal grille resembling that on the Hilux, blocky wheel arches, and the Tundra-styled LED taillights. On the other hand, the big chin spoiler that demolishes ground clearance on the Sport Limited certainly looks awkward. Toyota doesn't provide any measurements, but the overall package doesn't feel much larger than before. Another thing to mention is the return of the 2-door variant as the extra cab. One thing about the new Colorado that immediately jumps out is how it vaguely resembles the previous Tacoma. There are clear similarities in the boxier fenders, thin headlights, and larger grille. Of course, there are only so many ways to style a pickup, and each of these trucks delivers the goods when it comes to burly handsomeness. The Chevy's nose is perhaps a bit busier, at least depending on which trim level you go with. Each trim wears a unique front fascia and grille, so there are real differences across the lineup. Jumping inside, the new Tacoma's interior finally corrects a long-standing issue with a seat that sits over an inch higher than before to correct the feeling that you were sitting on the floor. Up top, the roof has been raised by the same amount so that the repositioned seat does not result in diminished headroom. Add this to an improved steering wheel with more movement range, and you get a superior seating position. The interior is really good looking, with logical controls and a new look that suggests no switchgear was carried over. The center screen stands with an easy reach, and an 8-inch touchscreen comes standard inside the Tacoma, while an optional 14-inch display is standard on the limited TRD Pro and Trail Hunter. That larger screen pairs with a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, while a smaller 7-inch cluster comes standard. As for the Colorado, it shares much of its interior design with the bigger Silverado. Every Colorado is a 4-door crew cab, however. Inside, there is a new center console, the shifter moves closer to the passenger side of the cab, and the cup holders are located directly in front of the center console instead of being tucked opposite to the gear selector. One downside is that it features more hard plastics than the Tacoma throughout, most notably on the doors and center console. Every Colorado does, however, feature the same 11.3-inch touchscreen included in its operating system by Google. Navigation is therefore Google Maps interface you are used to, natural voice commands come courtesy of Google Assistant, and the overall user interface is easy enough to figure out. When it comes to suspension, both trucks feature wide track suspensions with control arms and coil springs up front and a solid axle at the back. Both also feature 33-inch tires, but the Chevy uses 17-inch wheels with LT tires, while the Toyota runs 18-inch rubber that lacks the LT designation. The Chevrolet rides on a clever and durable Multimatic DSSV shuttle valve dampers, providing a combination of ride quality and performance that is simply unrivaled. The ZR2 also uses rear leaf springs, which have been greatly improved because the rear shocks are now mounted outboard of the springs and packaged tight against the wheels out of harm's way. The TRD Pro's wide track stance is a first for this model. Fully 3 inches broader than the base SR5, it might just eclipse the competition. Box 2.5-inch dampers are used, but they are QS3 units with 3 levels of manually adjustable compression dampening. The rear dampers are not inverted because Toyota prefers to keep the shafts of the shocks up high away from bouncing rocks. The Pro has one other notable feature others can't match: Box IFB hydraulic rear bump stops to cushion hard landings. As for off-roading ability, both trucks use part-time 4-wheel drive with a low-range transfer case that enables a driver to select from 2-wheel drive high, 4-wheel drive high, and 4-wheel drive low as needs dictate. All have skid plates underneath to protect vulnerable components. The ZR2 offers 10.7 inches of ground clearance and clearance angles of 38.3 degrees on approach and 25.1 degrees at departure and 24.6 degrees when braking over the brow of a hill. There are 3 off-road drive modes: off-road, terrain, and Baja. Terrain is meant for low-speed work and enables a slick one-pedal off-road crawl feature, while Baja opens the exhaust and eases up on traction and stability control intervention. ZR2 also comes with push-button front and rear differential lockers. The TRD offers a higher 11 inches of maximum ground clearance. Its approach and departure angles are slightly worse at 33.8 and 25.7 degrees respectively, and its breakover angle is 23.5 degrees. The name of its terrain management modes are still unknown, but as before, the TRD Pro only has a rear differential locker, but it does have a feature that the Chevy lacks, and that's a push-button front anti-roll bar disconnect. Toyota says the bar can be disconnected under load, and that doing so improves total suspension flex by 10% over the current model. As for towing capability, the ZR2 can tow 6,000 pounds, which is 1,000 more than last year. A 360-degree camera with a hitch ball close-up is available to help when hitching up. On the payload side, the ZR2 capacity is a lackluster 1,151 pounds. Little is certain when it comes to the TRD Pro's towing and hauling prowess, although the i4 Max crew cab is said to be good for 6,000 pounds of towing and a massive 1,700 pounds of payload capacity for two-wheel drive truck, and they will offer a trailer backup guidance system, a 360-degree camera, and a unique system that uses extra rooftop shark fin antennas to support an accessory rear-view camera you can mount on your trailer. Under the hood, turbocharged engines are what's available for both. The Colorado is powered by a variant of the turbocharged 2.7-liter inline-4 that first surfaced in the full-sized Silverado 1500. The ZR2's high-output tune comes to 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. The engine is backed by an 8-speed automatic transmission that seemingly makes all the right moves. The surprise here is the Tacoma's iForce Max hybrid powertrain, which is what you get when you combine the turbocharged 2.4-liter inline-4 with a powerful electric motor generator. The combination is good for 326 horsepower and a class-leading 465 pound-feet of torque, and the combined output passes to the wheels through a new 8-speed automatic that replaces last year's unevolved 6-speed. Last year's manual is no longer available on the Pro, as this gearbox is incompatible with the hybrid powertrain.